Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 105 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we preview the fifth and final showcase of the 2021-22 season. Kicking things off in the weekly rundown, we set the table for the showcase with some slight reshuffling to the EHL and EHLP power rankings. Further along in the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge, we recap the stellar weeks that Anthony and Lauren had to kick off the new year and make some new picks for this weekend's League-wide event. Finally, we wrap things up by circling some scheduled games to watch and discussing the EHLP All-Star Game and our What to Watch for segment. What's up, crew? Guess what we have this weekend?
Is it another showcase weekend?
We've had a chance to breathe, though, Jeff. We've had a chance to breathe since the last showcase, but this is the last one. This is the last one of the season.
That's it.
Did we take them for granted because we had none last season? They feel as if they've gone by so fast this year.
They always do. And the last 7-8 years that I've been doing them, they do. They just fly by. But I don't know if we've taken it for granted. What do you guys think? Anthony, Lauren, Justin?
I wish we wouldn't have put the longest one at the beginning. That I feel like it kind of sucked because for me, that was my first one. That was a lot to take in, but at the same time too, I feel like it would have hit a little better if we put like something that long somewhere in the middle instead of right at the beginning.
Build up to it. Yeah.
The showcases have come by quick, but the one thing that hasn't gone by quick are the bus rides up there. And sure enough, the final showcase is going to be that 6-hour ride from Jersey up to Exeter, New Hampshire. I am looking forward to that.
But hey, you know what you're driving towards? You're driving towards a full weekend of hockey, Anthony. And for you, a chance to call the EHLP All-Star Game. So it's going to be a good one.
I'll be on it too.
Yes. Well, I'm saying that's for his bus thing. Because I thought we were about to go down the showcase scheduling there for a second, and I was about to end the podcast right away. But with that, let's get into the weekly rundown.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
And I want to start by giving Anthony another set of stick taps here. Has Hooley told you how I've answered every one of his phone calls for the last 2 weeks?
No, he
Okay,
hasn't told me that.
So I answer the phone, and without saying hello or anything else, I always answer 87 way, and I hold up the W because what you're doing with these tweets is fantastic. I love it. There's multiple W's in there. There's so many that you can't even count what's going on. But
I'm going to start running out of characters, Neil, in these tweets.
Hey, right? The 87s have won 11 straight games. I mentioned to you guys off the air a second ago that we're doing power rankings, so let's jump right into it. Can the 87s go all the way up to number one?
Jersey number one. Write it down.
The Avalanche didn't play, though.
Oh, they've been out for a month. Speaking of noodle legs, what are the Avs going to look like?
This is how I wanted to stir the pot. The Avs haven't played, right? They're going to go from showcase to showcase. The Avalanche and the Rangers, only two teams to do so. The 87s have already won 4 games in 22.
Yep. They're coming. They're hot. This is their time of year.
I think you still have to stick with Preston and leave them where they are because they haven't played. And I will give the 87s 2, no doubt. And then if they keep it up this weekend, they can absolutely jump the Avs. you gotta stick to Preston like we have been and leave them as 1 and give 87s 2.
It feels like I was about to say a year ago, which is no pun intended because it was in 21. But the Avalanche won 5 games in 7 days. What feels like a year ago when they beat Walpole, the Railers, and then went to the showcase and they beat the Lumberjacks, Maryland, and I'm even blanking on the third team because it was so long ago. And I think I'm almost forgetting how good that stretch was because they haven't done anything yet. Like
it's that weird time of year, Neil.
Is there any concern about rust for this number one ranked team that's won 7 straight games?
I think so. Absolutely. I mean, you can't not go play for a month and then come out and, I mean, prove us wrong, prove us otherwise. But it happens at every level, right? You see at the pros, the college levels. I just started at the Division I level. Northeastern was off for a month. Their first game back against LIU, they won a squeaker 1-0. Then the Saturday game, what did they do? They scored 6 goals, won 6-0. So they got the rust off. But
it's not always like that because maybe if the Avalanche are missing some people who are sick or injured, or it gives players time to come back. And I kind of want to segue that to with the 87s because remember what I said the previous show where the 87s were winning these games even without some of their top guns. Well, guess what? Matt Zdanowicz came back. Devlin O'Kane is back. And they're not only winning games now, they're dominating.
You got to note, too, the 87s just picked up a huge player in Jimmy Metler because he's like one of the top defensemen in the league. And they were able to sneak him over there. And it took him I think a game or two to finally get on the score sheet for them. But once he did, he just fit right in perfectly. And the fact that they haven't paired up with Matt Herrick is just ridiculous.
Yes, that is just an unfair pairing. He scored a really nice goal. His first goal against Team Maryland was actually a really nice one. Patrick DeMarinis toe dragged around a defender. Metler scored on a tap in right as he was kind of sliding down to the ice. But I also feel bad for him because he got shaken up twice. He took a knee-on-knee hit in that game, and then he got plastered from behind, right on the numbers in front of the 87's bench. And I'm just like, oh, man, this guy can't catch a break right now.
Welcome to New Jersey. When you just began that statement, Anthony, by saying on a previous episode, you mentioned this detail. I thought you were about to say that on a previous episode, you pointed out how the 87s could go through the rest of the season without winning a single game. Remember that episode? Because you did say that one time. Because there was one point when they had lost 8 straight games. It's funny how fast, though, things can flip around.
But the other thing I said was that a majority of those games were 1-goal losses. So they've never been bad defensively, and now that they're starting to look like last year's team, guys, where they're not just winning games, but they're blowing people out of the water.
I think that we're all in consensus that the Avs stay at 1, despite being off. I did have to kind of poke at the Avalanche a little bit, like it's time to get back into action. They stay 1, 87 stay 2. From there, it gets kind of interesting. What do you do with a team like Walpole, who's come back and played just 1 game, lost to the Warriors? At the time that we did these last rankings, December 17th, if you remember, we had a big debate over which 2 South teams were going to have spots 4 and 5. We ended up with the Ducks at 4 and the Little Flyers at 5. The Ducks just swept the Little Flyers, albeit 1 game in overtime, 1 game in a shootout. You look at that division is just crazy right now because the 87s, as I mentioned, they've won 11 straight games. The other 3 teams are either 6-4, 5-5, or 4-6 in their last 10.
Yep.
We're set at 1 and 2. What do we do after that? Who's 3? Who's the 3rd best team in the league right now?
The Express.
The Express still?
Yes.
Choo choo.
Jeff's never going to argue Red Train.
No, I mean Blue Train have won 4 in a row too. If we want to, they're starting to run away with that Central Division. As much as we love the Chefs, they are now 16 points behind the Railers for first place. I hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean,
that to be a little tighter, but
like I said, it's just been 1 game for Walpole. They lost 1 game, 3-2 to Valley, who has.
But they're still 8-2 in their last 10.
Yep.
So that's still pretty solid.
And only 1 point behind the Rangers, but again, the Rangers haven't played yet since we turned the calendar to 2022. So,
what do the Rangers have for games in hand on the Express? Is that significant?
4 games.
Because the games in hand we've talked. It's been a big topic in the South. Because there was a moment in this season where I think we all 4 of us thought like the Little Flyers are the best team, and it's going to show when the game count starts to even itself out. But now the Little Flyers have lost 4 straight games.
Yeah,
like I cannot put my finger down on that division. I just can't.
And it's just all, and like we talked about in the last episode too, Neil, is a lot of these matchups down the stretch are all in division matchups. So get used to playing all your Southern teams in the South. And this past week was like an all South and Central week, besides the Wolves and Lumberjacks playing 2 games. And you said you're going to keep seeing teams jump up, jump down. And this showcase is going to be really interesting, right? This is going to be the last showcase. And we always say how the 2 25-minute periods changes things up. A lot of teams are traveling. You only get the 1 intermission, so you're really gonna figure out your strategies this weekend. You've seen all these teams at this point. Everybody's seen everybody. So it's gonna come down to details, I would say. Details, coaching, making adjustments, and all the little things I think are gonna add up.
Yeah. I will agree Walpole at 3. Unless anybody else has a different idea for who should go to 3.
Oh, yeah, power rankings. That's right.
No, we're just chatting.
We're go with Walpole at 3.
I'm good with Walpole at 3. Lauren, Anthony, Justin, what do you think?
Not the Railers?
The Railers are outside. I think the Railers get in, but I think they get in at 5.
Yeah.
A record of 26-1?
Yeah, but when you look at their most recent record, it's not good enough to be ahead of the Express right now.
I remember they
7-3, 8-2. It's a 1 game difference. I wouldn't say it's.
They were struggling at exiting the Newington Showcase.
Yeah.
They beat the Wolves right before the holiday break, which was a nice win for them to have before going on the holidays. And then they've come back, and since the break, they've beat the Warriors, Chiefs, and Spartans. I think that they get themselves back in the place of the Little Flyers. I just don't know. I earlier I said the Ducks, it took them overtime in their shootout to beat the Little Flyers. They still beat the Little Flyers. And I still think Walpole, despite it being just 1 game, they can't fall too far. So I would go Avalanche at 1, 87s at 2, Express at 3, Ducks at 4, Railers at 5.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good 5. Especially like we said, this is a tough week, like we said, because only the South and Central really played. Nobody really from the East and North played a lot, so it's kind of we're still getting our sea legs back from the Christmas break. Yes. And I can't believe that the Rangers and Avalanche are going to be playing their first game in a month coming up this weekend.
It's going to be interesting. And think about that. The Rangers aren't in this. The Rangers aren't in this. And I think we had last receiving votes, Maryland and the Chiefs. I think no one's receiving votes. I think we go with those 5 and we see what happens at the showcase. Because,
sounds good to me. Because
this is the last showcase. And as you pointed out, Jeff, crazy things happen at showcases.
Yep.
So just to confirm what we have Avalanche 1, 87s 2, Express 3, Ducks 4, and Railers 5. No receiving votes, which then flips us over to the EHLP, which is a little bit different because everybody here, I believe, has played at least 1 game since the return from the holiday break. So there isn't anybody that's going from showcase to showcase. But the last time that we had these rankings, the Rangers were 1, the Railers were 2, the Avalanche were 3, and the Chiefs were 4. Not really the easiest schedule for the Rangers this week, but they, in back-to-back days, lost to the Avalanche, lost to the Warriors. They're not number 1 anymore. They can't be.
Time to shuffle.
Who's number 1 now?
Blue Train.
See, we give the Blue Train not as much love in the EHLP. Hey, here we go. Pour it on.
I think it's Avalanche right now in the EHLP. They just knocked off the Rangers the second time in a row that they've beat them when they faced them.
But the Railers just beat Valley and the Chiefs.
I get that. There's 2 wins. If the Avalanche had another win, I'm torn because I think that the Avalanche have had such a great season in the EHLP and we haven't even talked about it because they haven't played that many games.
Justin also just pointed out the Chiefs are in the top 4 and the Railers beat them. Just saying.
So
I feel like that gives them a little more credit over the Avs.
The Avs beating number 1 is not as great as the Railers beating the number 4 team and the Warriors.
Well, the
I know the Warriors
and the number 4 team. So like, I don't know. I think that holds a little more weight to it.
So you would go Railers 1, Avalanche 2.
Plus, it's like you said too. It's like the Avs P team has been good. We just apparently for some reason haven't been talking about them as much. So it's like I feel like it's more expected that they would do well against a team like that, or like you would kind of think that they would probably do well against a team like that. So it just, I don't know. I think the Railers kind of looked a little better recently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think what's tough for me is the Avs P team has played 20 games, which means they have 22 games left over the next 2 months.
And then you're going to go into the playoffs. I mean, some teams like that, right? The game of hockey, it's weird. Some teams like to not have as many games before the playoffs because then you have a little bit of rest. But other teams would say otherwise, that they'd like to play a lot of games leading up to the playoffs. So yeah, we'll see what Vinny Calgieri's boys can do here in the second half. It's going to be busy. It's going to be real busy.
So Railers 1, Avs 2. Who's 3? How far do the Rangers fall for losing to? I know the Warriors aren't in this, but if we had 5 teams, them or the Seahawks are probably in it, right? Like,
yeah,
the Warriors have,
Warriors
have had a great season at the EHLP.
Yep.
Do the Rangers fall to 3?
The Rangers have to go to 3.
So they're almost like switching spots with the Avs.
Yes.
I shouldn't say that. The Railers are 1, the Avs are 2, the Rangers are 3. The Chiefs, last time we had this, were 13-7-2. So their only losses that you're saying it was against the Railers in overtime. So can they fall out of 4? Is there somebody that could take that spot? Can the Warriors, with their win over the Rangers, take that spot, or do we leave the Chiefs where they're at?
I think we leave them where they're at. Plus the fact that Valley lost to the Railers too, I don't think would put them ahead of the Chiefs.
Can Valley get receiving votes?
I'd say that would be
that'd be fine. Yeah,
suitable.
I can see that.
And a team to watch, I guess you could say. I'm not saying receiving votes, but a team to watch and keep an eye on right now, I think, is Vermont. They've quietly won 4 straight games. They're coaching.
Trent King. I know we're not getting a fantasy yet.
Oh God! Like, don't even get me started. I want to skip fantasy, honestly. But like, it's funny. I was on the phone with Gary Gill earlier today, and we were talking about roster stuff and stuff because this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because with every week that passes, there's a different deadline. Like, we've passed the deadline for Hockey Canada teams to release a player. Coming up, the transfer or the import deadline is done. Roster freeze, etc. And Gary said to me on the phone, "Yeah, I think we're in a really good spot now. One of our teams is about to make a run." And I'm like, "Is he talking about EHL or is he talking about EHLP? Do I want to say anything? Because if I say the wrong thing, am I going to insult him?
The bear,
am I going to insult him?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm talking about the EHLP team." And I was like, "Okay, he said it. Thank you." But he said,
just waiting.
He's like, if you look at the way that the team is constructed now, what we've done recently, I'm telling you, watch out. We're going to make a run here. And I was like, okay, you have a tough division, but okay, that sounds good. Like, I think we've talked a lot about the playoff races in the EHL and I think it's not so much the playoff races in the EHLP, but the battle for seeding in those divisions, I think is going to be even more critical than the EHL. Because look at what I'm talking about right now in the North, right? If you're any of those 3 teams that are on a winning streak right now, you're fighting to not face each other in the first round, not have the 2-3 matchup. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about the East, right? We've talked about the East, and we know Walpole is technically the 4th place team in the East. Walpole's P team is pretty damn good. Like quite
a few all-stars you're going to see this weekend,
right? So
the Parker brothers, the Gravels.
It's going to be interesting to see how these teams finished off for what seeds they end up with. But just to recap for the EHLP, we've agreed on Railers 1, the Avalanche 2, the Rangers 3, the Chiefs 4, and receiving votes is Valley. So that finalizes both sets of power rankings. We'll see if they change it all at the showcase.
Please make it interesting. Entertain us.
Do you want to talk about fantasy? Let's go.
It's time for the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
And the eCrew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
This whole narrative that I change rules to cheat for myself is over, okay? Like I added the EHLP player and it didn't benefit me at all. It benefited Anthony the most, not me, because I got last place this week. I'm not in last place overall. I had a better finish the week, but man, I need to catch up.
Hey, you and Anthony are neck and neck though. There's only
hey, we're not racing for third.
You're separated by one whole point, Neil and Anthony. 375.2, 374.2.
So
yeah, right to the decimal.
To recap my picks from January 5th to January 12th, Tony Andrews probably will have a great week this week at the showcase because he just didn't score 6 goals. Yeah, he just didn't want to do anything when I had him.
Neil Kurz.
JJ Creighton had 2 assists for me. Stefan Kulhanek did win 2 games for me. But when you compare, I guess you could say the shot totals to everybody else, it's nice that the Railers don't give up shots, but it hurts me because he only had to make 38 saves in those 2 games.
Stop blocking shots, Anastasi Drummond. Get out of the way. Let the biscuit hit Kalanick, will you?
Man. And James Tilley and Nolan Matthews each had a goal and 2 assists for me for 7 points apiece. And 27.6 points isn't great, but it's not that terrible. Like it's not that terrible, but you look at what you guys did and it's just like, I'm so
breaking records this year.
I'm so frustrated right now because like,
no, but you're right. 27 used to be like when we first started this thing a couple of years ago, that used to be a good week. Now we got all these wonderful newbies, Lauren Smith, Anthony DePaulo. I guess more Lauren than Anthony right now. Anthony, I still love you, but Lauren's weeks are stupid right now. 60 points, 50 points, 40 points. Like what the
luck has to run out at some point. It has to.
Know.
Like when we all pick the same people, they can't just choose to turn it on when they're on her team. Like,
but they do.
I know.
They love Team Low. I don't know what to tell you.
You know what? All I can say is
they're not low-lifers.
Justin can confirm this too. My NHL fantasy team is coming.
Are you going on a run? You're gonna
if I can get
Joe Commish.
if I can get my EHL picks to do what Joe Pavelski did last night for me and literally have 2 goals and 3 assists and have a role in all 5 goals that they scored, I will feel great about it.
4 and 8 there, Neil. You gotta ways to
Jeff, watch. You watch and see. So
already, baby.
For my EHL picks, as
I have
you
to
all
trade
noticed,
you Lucas Raymond and Moritz Sider.
I put a trade together, but I didn't hit send yet. Anyways, so we're dropping this podcast on Friday, the 14th, because there's no games today, and obviously the showcase starts tomorrow. So these picks go from Saturday through next Wednesday. I also would be remiss to not mention something that I forgot last week. And that's when we added this EHLP slot, you can pick whatever position you want for that slot, forward, defenseman, or goalie. It is a lot tougher to figure out what goalies are going to play though in the EHLP. So
we can't pick coach.
You cannot pick coach. No.
Coach points. It's like that Madden mode where you're going, I'm going to do the GM coach mode.
But for my picks, I'm going to start up front with the Wolves, who are the only team in the EHL that has 4 games in this window. So I'm trying this strategy that I think Lauren uses is if they play, they have a chance to get points. So I'm going with the fact that they're going to play more games. I'm also going with the fact that Rickard Jelenski's has like 26 points this year, and 12 of them have come in showcase. So,
he's a big showcase guy.
Like it should continue. You have 3 games in the showcase, 1 game out of the showcase. I've picked you once this year. It was all the way back in week 1, but it's time to go again. Speaking of players that are kind of hot lately or in showcase. The Wizards went through that weird stretch when they couldn't score, and now they can't stop scoring, right? But
I can't stop. I'm just putting all these pucks in. It's just so much fun.
In their last 3 games, Nicholas Dallaire has 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists. So I'm going to have him on the point. I brought up Rust earlier. I have no idea how Ronan Mobley feels right now. But they have 3 games in this window. Hope he gets at least 2 starts. He was in net for all 5 of those victories the Avalanche had in 7 days before the holiday break. So he's my pick in goal. Back to the 87s, who we've talked about a few times so far in this podcast. Anthony mentioned Matt Zdanowicz earlier. It doesn't look like he missed a whole bunch of time since November 19th because he's been at electric. Like he's been so good for the 87 since they returned from the break. He has a point in all 4 games. He has 3 goals and 4 assists, including 1 game winner. That was the first game back against the Little Flyers. And then for my EHLP selection, my only hesitation with this pick with Michael Scenari is he technically is playing 4 games in 3 days when you factor in the EHLP All-Star Game. So I hope he doesn't get tired, but he's an 0-3, so I feel like the young legs will be fine. He's got 25 points in 23 games. So I'm not going to make any guarantees, but I'm hoping I'm not picking last next week.
We will see.
I mean, hope you're not picking first.
Oh, sorry. You know what I mean? Yes. Not picking first. I cannot pick first again. Next up from this past week's stretch, I mentioned earlier, 27 points I thought was pretty good. For me, Jeff, you had 36.2.
Ooh,
that's a good week.
That's a very good week, my
You
friend.
shouldn't pick second. Like you shouldn't pick second. I don't get this. I don't get this year. Jack Devine, I got a goal for you. Matt Herrick got a goal for you. Jeremy Connor had 2 wins for you, including a bonus win in that victory against the, I want to say Little Flyers or Ducks, the Ducks win. And then 2 goals apiece for Jordan Camilla and Mike Bichetto. So what are your new picks?
So the new picks that we have for this week, I'm actually going with a shout out to my friend Terry Watt, Quack Quack. We got 2 ProTech Junior Ducks coming on down to the Team Jefferson ranks. And we're going to start with Nick Newman, who I almost picked for the Newington showcase. And then I forget where I went elsewhere, but Newman has been very good. Also just committed. So congratulations to him. But since coming back, he had a goal in the 87s game the other day and was real hot at that Newington showcase, up to 36 points in 28 games, has 8 helpers on the power play. And then going with a old face that I saw in a different place this year as far as the ProTech Junior Ducks are concerned, that's Trey Miller. I actually called his games when he was on the South Shore Kings NCDC earlier this year, and then he found a better home with Terry and the ProTech Junior Ducks, and he's been playing really well since going down to ProTech Ponds. And it's going to be interesting, though, because him and Fatadad, he played the 2 games against the Little Flyers, got wins in both of those. Please put up another 45 save on 49 shot effort. That would be very welcomed. Or 32 saves on 35 shots. We'll take all those saves. So I'm interested to see what Terry does. They play 3 times this weekend, and we'll see how he shakes that out. But hoping Trey gets a few more opportunities than Mr. Tristan Fatadad, but we'll see. And then next we got Garrett Alberti. If you guys, I'm all caught up on my Living the Dream. I texted Coach McGrath. I finished watching some of that the other day. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Tori Einen or one of them that chirped Alberti and said the guy's he'll get you all the helpers in the world, but he can't score goals. That's not true. He's got 8 goals on the year.
I was looking at him too. He's having a good year quietly.
Yeah, a lot of power play points too. 4 of those power play goals, 9 power play assists. A little bit of a PIMS guy too, Alberti. 51 PIMS. Too bad we don't get the PIMS points for fantasy, but
that'll be Jeff's rule change next year.
Yeah,
he landed the top play recently too, so yay.
Yes, exactly. And he's been fun to watch on that Living the Dream. So make sure you guys go check that out. Zach Needham's doing an awesome job with that. You can see that on the Junior Warriors YouTube page. And then we're gonna finish things up. Well, actually, no, we still got the P2. Kieran Chung. Anthony picked him a little while ago. I think you were the only one that's picked him this year, Anthony, if I remember correctly. He's been a point per game player for Coach Lynn and Coach Brown, 19 points, 19 games. Big power play guy, power play goal, and 8 power play assists. And then we're going to go chalk with the EHLP pick, and we're going with Philip Parker, who is leading the EHLP in points, and he's going to be on Team Lowe and Team Jefferson this weekend with the Gray All-Stars. 21 goals, 21 assists for Phil, and he's got 6 goals on the power play. 2 of those are 2 power play assists, so 42 points in 23 games for Philip Parker.
What are you going to say, Anthony?
As long as Jefferson's finished.
I'm good.
One thing I want to talk about with Kieran Chung, 2 things. First off, he's only in 03, so the fact that he's a point per game with the Rough Riders as an 03 is fantastic. And the other thing, too, is that he will be representing Great Britain's national team for an upcoming U18 tournament, so he'll be playing on the international stage.
Is he going to miss time with the Rough Riders because of that?
I'm not sure.
We'll find out this weekend at the showcase.
Yep.
Because he's on their top pair.
Also, great guy, by the way. I got to talk to him before the game against the 87s, and we were talking about British hockey in the United Kingdom, and they call it the Elite League over there, and I think it's the Nottingham Panthers that he's a fan of.
Can't say I ever watched a Nottingham Panthers game before.
No. Maybe it's coming. That's to
awesome,
maybe they'll put it on NBC like they have the Premier League soccer.
Right.
But Jeff,
this is random too, but Justin gave us a really good stat nugget since Anthony just finished too on the 87's domination in this winning streak that we have to mention. Did we mention the 48-22 outscoring that they've done of their opponents over the streak?
Well, Anthony used the word dominant a few times. He didn't say the number. The number is pretty. It's
48
staggering.
goals for, 22 against. They're not giving up a lot and they're scoring a lot. And now it's actually turned into kind of a tandem too between Haynes and Connor.
Yes,
that kind of hurt me last week. I thought Jeremy was going to get 3 out of the 4, and then he got 2 and 2.
Well, Jeff, the one number I did bring up was the last 3 games, because those have been more, I guess, like one-sided games where they've outscored opponents 16-4. Because in the early stages of the winning streak, they're still winning 1-goal games, 2-goal games. But you're also right where Owen Haynes has been terrific. I don't know if you remember, but Jeremy Connor started the first 6 or 7 games in goal for the 87. So it looked like they were going to be riding him very often this season. But they brought Haynes, who played a little bit for the Titans North American Hockey League team.
Oh.
He came back down, and he's been a solid addition for the Titans in goal. And it gives Connor a chance to breathe and actually share the workload, but they have both been on top of their game right now.
And there's our opening to Anthony's Fantasy Week. Ready?
Well, no, I can't go yet. Because it came down to the last game, and he jumped Lauren by a point. Because, Jeff, I thought 27 points was good for me. I thought your 30-plus was good for you. But they were like, we'll just roll out and get 47 and 48. Like, what? What?
Sorry.
To recap Lauren's week, because I picked Rossi once. He got her 6 points. Ryan Bro ended up getting her just 2 points, so she can be mad about that. But Gideon Sullivan got 21 because he made 110 saves. So my 2 wins for Kulhanik with 38 saves, replace that with 110, right? It's just
unbelievable.
Colin Callanan, I guess we should just start picking him before Lauren does, starting next week, right? Because he got
I don't know how you guys let him slip.
I've had him twice.
I was like, oh my God.
I've definitely had him at least twice, so I'm trying to spread the love.
He had 13 points for her. And then is this Alden Swizz? Is that how we said we pronounce it? Swiss.
Yes, I ran into him one day, and I was asking about it. Yes, and he said it is Swiss.
Okay, he got you 5 points, and 47 should have won the week, but as we will get to, Anthony had the better week.
Yeah, thank you, Billy. Oh God! All right, well, I'm picking some heavy hitters this week, and picking one face I think is new to fantasy for us. Up front with the forwards, I'm taking Michael Tersoni from the Avalanche. He's been a huge impact guy for them. He's got 41 points over 27 games this season, which is pretty solid. I think that's just shy of like 2 points per game, which is pretty good. He's got a couple game winners, quite a few power play points going on, so I'm excited to pull him up there. And Following along at defense, this is a fun name. We were talking about him earlier. He's a new face for the 87s, Mr. Jimmy Metler. It took him, I think, like 2 games to finally get on the score sheet, like I was saying, and that was pretty good for him. And he's like, didn't take him too long to mesh with them. And the fact that he's with Matt Herrick, I think that'll be a good fit for him. Clearly, it's been paying off lately, so that'll be fun. We'll see how long they can ride that win streak. That's been a cool thing to watch. In goal, I think he's a new face for fantasy for us. I haven't remembered seeing anyone pick him yet. I'm taking William Billockley from the Lumberjacks. He's been holding it down in net for them recently, so I'm excited to see what else he can do for them. I think one of his last games was...
Well, you played both games against the Wolves, right? I think he had a shutout.
Yeah, the last one he had was a shutout, which is pretty solid. He had a 3-4 loss the first time, but honestly, it's pretty solid considering the fact that he hadn't played in a game since the showcase, I believe, or maybe right after. So that's pretty good for him. I'm excited to see what he can do for my team, see how he can help the Lumberjacks climb back up the standings. For my utility pick, I'm picking from my EHL All-Stars, Mr. Kevin Johnston from the New England Wolves. He's been a fun one for them. He's been getting them quite a few points. He's got 22 and 27 games played. He's a pretty good guy. He's definitely not a fan of the penalty box, which is good, only 8 penalty minutes. So I'm excited to keep him out on the ice. So that'll be good. And for my EHLP pick, this one, I'm super excited, picking another one from Jeff and I's all-star team, Mr. Evan Gravel from the Walpole Express. That kid is, between him and Phil, like those two are just gross for that team. He has 37 points in 25 games played. Also another kid that's not a fan of the penalty box, only 12 penalty minutes so far. He's got 4 game winners this season, quite a few power play points, shorthanded. This kid he does it all. He's really great all around. So I'm excited to pull him in for my team and see what he can do this weekend.
So week 1 of the EHLP edition, you both picked Rangers. Week 2, you both pick Express. Is this going to be a trend? Like, how is this going to work? Did you talk about this? Is this just because you're on the same EHLP All-Star staff, if you will?
Last week, we were the smart ones who picked P kids from the teams that had the most games. So this week, I just kind of did the same, but there was a few teams that had like similar amount of games, but I decided to go with him because he's one of the top players in the P. He's been looking good lately. Big point getter, so I figured I'd give him a try.
Okay. Well,
we're friends, you know. We're not helping.
I'm just trying to figure out.
It's weird.
If there is some conversation behind the scenes, we'll address that later. So,
Lauren, I will admit.
What are you trying to imply collusion?
No, never. But we'll get to Anthony's picks, and what I want to point out first for you, Anthony, because as we know now, our lineups have 5 players on them, but really. Take out Duffy for Anthony because Duffy got him 3 points. The Spartans and Cooper Board only played 1 game. He didn't score a point in that game. So Anthony's best week of all 4 of us came from 3 guys.
Damn. Yeah, that's impressive, Ant.
Like they really came from 3 guys. Billy Harder, who, if we end up doing some sort of like fantasy all-star team at the end of the year, has probably scored the most points in this, right? Because I think if we can do something where it's when the guys were picked, he's probably accumulated more fantasy points for one of us than any other player in the league. He got 14 points for Anthony. I'm going to use another line I've already used. I had 38 saves. Lauren had 110. Anthony had 130 saves, and Bernard didn't win a game for him. If he had won a game, we'd be in the 50s right now. But that got him 16 points. And as I said earlier, when I added the EHLP player in, it proves I'm not cheating because Trent King went out and got Anthony 15 points himself.
Yes, hey, Bernard may not have gotten any wins, but he did earn himself college commitment. So claps to
Adrian.
I want to get to that in a second, but let's first get to Anthony's fantasy picks to try and go back-to-back 48-point weeks.
Well, first, I just want to give a shout out to Trent King. And as I mentioned before, it's like what the EHL guy said, no cheap talks, all highlight real goals from him, and he can score by the boatload. So thank you, Trent King, for helping out. Still think I'm in the basement, though. It's pretty dark down here. Moving on to this week.
I'm holding the basement door and giving you a flashlight to get out of the basement right now.
Literally, you got a roommate, buddy. You're not alone. His name is Neil.
So at the forward position, Lauren picked Michael Tersoni. I'm going to go with Matt Carlson. He has 15 goals, 34 points in 28 games. And in the final 4 games of December, he put up 7 points. So I think he can carry that over to this into the calendar year of 2022. For defense, Bingo Blango. Got to go with Chris Blango. I was on the call for his debut with the Little Flyers. We were talking about guys who like to perform well in the showcases. Well, he got that overtime winner against the Seacoast Spartans, and I think he'll be a great addition on Team Anthony. 13 points in 12 games. Then in goal, I'm going with Nico Carrier. He has played.
I was looking at him, Anthony. That was a good pick. I almost picked him.
Yeah, he recently came onto the Valley Junior Warriors, and he's played 2 games for them so far. He's had some pretty good games in there. He's posted over a 900 save percentage in one of them. So I think that the more he gets settled in, I think he'll be a good addition in goal. For utility, I have to go to my own team here, Devlin O'Kane. He has 4 points in his last 2 games. When he came back in the game against the Protect Junior Ducks, he didn't put up any points. He was kind of getting his legs back, but he picked up a goal and an assist against the Rough Riders. He scored twice against Team Maryland, and I think that now he's really putting it together. Adam Hooley and Matt Kiernan were really excited about bringing him in from Chicago, and now I think we're starting to see what he's capable of, so I can't wait to see what he can do in the showcase. Then my EHL Premier pick, I'm going to stick with the 87s. I'm going to have to go with Will O'Brien. He scored 2 goals against the New Jersey Renegades, and I mentioned before he has the really good chemistry with Jeffrey Boker. And one thing outside of hockey I want to mention, they're both from Pittsburgh, and they were telling me about the Chargers-Raiders game they were watching, and they were going out of their minds because if that game was in a tie, that would have knocked Pittsburgh out of the playoffs.
I watched the whole thing. I wanted it to happen.
So when I think it was the Raiders, right? They got the field goal. They were so happy. They both told me how crazy they were going inside the house. And I was talking to some of the other guys that live with them. They're like, yeah, it was pretty nuts hearing both of them. But O'Brien's gonna go on my fantasy team as the premier slot.
We're not an NFL podcast by any means, but there is a bet. There is a bet taking place this weekend. That's what everyone knows. The assistant coach for the 87s is Justin Friedman. He is a big-time Buffalo Bills fan. The Bills are facing the Patriots. Yes, I am a Patriots fan. Everyone likes to give me a hard time.
Putting it lightly.
Everyone likes to give me a hard time. That my dad plays for the Buccaneers now. Everyone likes to give that hard time to me. So I do like the Patriots still. But Justin and I have a simple bet going that on Sunday, because the showcase goes Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Someone is putting on a jersey of the other team at the showcase. So we'll have a little fun with that. But with that, there's a lot to talk to in our what to watch for segment, so let's go there.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
I mentioned earlier one of these past episodes, what are we watching for in the second half? And Lauren kind of just brought this up. I'm excited to watch for all the commitments that we're going to get in the second half. And the first one that stands out is the one from Jackson Bernard just now. Adrian College is one of the top programs in all of Division III hockey. Bernard is the second player in league history to go there. And he's the first ever commitment straight from our league. The first kid that ended up at Adrian was this kid named Trevor Kuykendall, who played for the Little Flyers. I want to say it was the 2016-17 season, then went and spent a year in the CCHL, then went to Adrian. So Jackson Bernard is the first true commitment to Adrian direct from our league. So huge shout out to him. Because
they're number 1 this week in the D3 ranks.
They are one of the top teams in Division III hockey. Their head coach is Adam Krug, Tori's brother. Like, they are one of the top teams in all Division III hockey. So that's like
that. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me. Like, if you've watched Bernard at all this season, like even in losses, like he looks great. Like I don't know what it is about him, but he knows what he's doing. He reads the game very well. Like he's just a solid guy in the net.
His dad's also awesome too. I mean, having your dad work for the Chicago Blackhawks, he knows a thing or two. Great family. Good for him.
And what's great about the Bernard commitment is it's actually not the only goalie commitment that we recently had. We also had Nathan Miller, who just committed to Babson. So 2 of the 3 goalies that were on the EHL All-Star team that faced Curry and UMass Boston have got committed. It's always funny. The goalies seem to go a little bit quicker from that team because of what they do against those colleges. Maybe it's their first chance to show what they can do at that next level. I don't think Kulhanek is going to commit. He's only an 0-2, so he has another year to come back. So we won't go. We won't go 3 for 3 with that. But there's been a bunch of commitments in the past couple of weeks or so. Obviously, we've all seen what the Avalanche have done with their massive list. But I think what's really been interesting to me is almost like this internal competition between SUNY Fredonia and SUNY Brockport for who can commit more players from the league. It's awesome. Yep.
We have a lot going to both.
It's awesome. And it's funny because Brian Dickinson, who coaches at Brockport, used to coach under Jeff Meredith at SUNY Fredonia. So the connections are huge there. Jeff Meredith's son played in our league, right? Played for the Walpole Express, Jeff's favorite Red Train, now plays at Brockport. So 2 schools that will just always bring our guys in. I posted the Joe Idelson story. Interesting enough, this is our 9th year of the EHL. Suffolk has committed at least 1 player from the EHL in all 9 seasons, which is just awesome. So tons of commitments Rams. and I like what you did there, Jeff.
The Rams.
There's going to be plenty more coming through, but of course, with it being a showcase weekend, it's a jam-packed schedule once again, not as long as our original showcase, the first one of the year, but it's 38 games or so. Are there any matchups that you guys immediately have circled?
I'm going to immediately throw out some P-Love and say I think it'll be fun. I think it's Monday morning. The Red Train and the Blue Train are taking match up together that day, and I think that's always exciting, both in the E and the P, watching the Red Train and the Blue Train go off together. So I think that'll be definitely a fun one to watch, especially for them coming off of the All-Star Game Saturday night. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Anthony, this is a perfect time. That is a good matchup, Lauren. I'm excited to watch that one too. Anthony, this is a perfect time for you to tell me how many times am I going to schedule the 87s versus Seahawks in the EHLP this season?
I have no idea. I know I'm on the call for that one, so I'm getting very familiar with the Seahawks.
You're almost like their home broadcaster, but you live in New Jersey.
Yeah, giving some competition to Jefferson Mills. I mean, no, Jim McCabe.
Yes.
Got my JMs mixed up.
That's right.
I'm
gonna show myself out.
We're talking about what to watch for, and I just want to go back outside of the showcase for a second. Caden Premu got called up from Laval Rocket back to the Montreal Canadiens. I do think that's something that I thought it's worth bringing up. New Jersey native, EHL alum.
Neil Ravin's NHL fantasy team. He's been sitting on my bench all year long for this rotting.
That's why Neil's tanked his team. He's gone 4-8. Just to have Primo get in.
So all of Justin's friends, because Justin runs the league, are probably like, what is this kid doing? Putting an AHL goalie on his team, just taking up a bench spot. Like, why is he such an idiot? But you know what? That moment is coming. That moment is coming. Thank you, Anthony. I'm excited about that. And when the Bruins pound Montreal, I'm like, it's time. Just give them the chance. Let's go. So thank you for bringing that up. And I bring up that 87 Seahawks thing because not often do you see a team from the South Division play a team in the East Division 4 times in one regular season. But with my showcase scheduling, they do this year.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think by the time it was the Walpole or the Newington showcase, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm just thinking it's deja vu all over again. Like, these teams are really going to hate each other by the end of this showcase.
Or maybe by the Frozen Finals. But we won't get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. Are there any other games that you guys have circled?
I like 87's Railers. 2:00 on, it looks to be Sunday. I'm not sure if I have that game or not. I'm gonna look back at my schedule. But that should be a great one, right? You get two teams. We've argued about where they should be in the power rankings. So that's a power rankings matchup. And 87's the hottest team in the league. Railers starting to find their stride again on this 4-game winning streak. And I'm sure Coach Bertoni, the Odessa family, and the rest of the Railers will say, oh, you only want to put us at 5. We won 4 straight. Oh, well, why don't we just go take down Adam Hooley and Matt Kiernan's New Jersey 87s and Justin Freeman as well? And maybe we'll shake things up.
If you are calling that game, or Anthony is calling that game, and the other person is off, can you please do what you did the last time we were in Exeter and stand on that platform, whatever it was, behind the bench together, arm in arm, calling the game?
I was like, all right, Anthony, now you move to the left. Okay. Now you move to the left.
I haven't been scheduled for any EHL games in this showcase.
Ooh.
I have 2 P games and then the P All-Star game. But I would be more than willing to maybe do an EHL game alongside Jefferson.
We've done a couple this year at the showcases. A couple 87's P's. 87 Seahawks too. They're back again.
A game that I have circled is taking place Sunday morning at 10:10 in Exeter, EHL. Lumberjacks and Ducks. I think the way that those two teams play, it could be a touchdown to a touchdown minus an extra point. Like it could be run and gun. So I'm kind of hoping for that one. There's a lot of good games in the schedule, but that one to me looks like one that I have circled from the very beginning. Of course, of all the games that we have on the schedule, EHL and EHLP, the biggest one for us is the EHLP All-Star Game on Saturday night. That's our first time ever having this event. As I actually wrote in my quote for the story, we've talked about this for the longest time. We just haven't been able to have it because of COVID or no showcases or you name it. So to actually have this EHLP All-Star Game to me is great because it's going to be an awesome showcase of literally almost every single birth year that you can be in junior hockey is represented in this game. Anthony is calling the game. Tyler is doing his color. Lauren is inside the glass. So it's going to be a good one. And I will, for those that are poking at my Pats fanhood now, there is a bar in the restaurant. There's a bar in the restaurant. So I have I already know exactly where I'm going to stand. There's a perfect spot where I can see everything. I can look to my left.
Right against the glass there.
Yeah. See what's going on over on the TV, and then look to my right, and here's the game going on. It's going to be perfect. So, any thoughts you guys have on the EHLP All-Star Game?
I'm so excited for that. Plus, like getting to hang out on the benches again, like I did for the EHL All-Stars, would be like I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think these guys are all getting super excited about it. I'm excited about the guys we've picked on both teams. I think it'll be such a fun matchup. Plus, it'll be kind of cool to see the gray and the white jerseys making an appearance again. We've seen the blues and the reds twice now, so it's time to give a second look to the whites and the grays. So I think it'll be pretty fun.
Anthony, it's our time. It's our time.
Going down.
Like
you wish.
You're going down, Neil and
wish.
Anthony. Me and Lauren are ready, baby. As we supporting from afar, but I got Bentley hockey, and
you
I'll be on my way home.
better wear gray that day, Jeff.
Well, you know what? When I did the Q&A with Colin Bella, because he was in the All-Star Game, played for Team Gray, and I thanked him because it looked like my team was going to get shut out for 2 games in a row, and then he scored that hat trick to give Team Gray the win.
Yes.
So I was joking with him where I said that when they're getting shut out that I would never become an armchair GM again because it's much harder than it looks. I'm clearly not good at it, but he was able to pull through, and it was great.
This game for us, because it's an additional 10 fantasy points, right? For whoever wins. It's either Anthony and I get the 10 points each, or Jeff and Lauren get the 10 points each. This is monumental. This is this is literally, if we don't get these 10 points each, Anthony, we're in a race for third. and they're in a race for first.
You're gonna keep being roommates, and
so we're gonna have some sort of pregame speech that we come up with when we go into the locker room, probably about 10 minutes before game starts, just to really get the boys fired up. But as I mentioned, there's a ton of big games on the schedule, including that EHLP All-Star Game. Games taking place both in Exeter and in Hooksett. If you can't make it to either rink, you can catch all the games on Hockey TV. And let's have a good fifth and final showcase, guys.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.